So I'm going to go with this nouveau look here for a moment. We're going to try the backdrop right now, ladies and gentlemen. Here I am, your friend Court Gronowski, publisher of Yankee T News, just trying to get some things straightened out in this wild world. So let me start with what I think is the big thing. Now, I'm a Steve Bannon fan, and he had Alex Jones on, and they were spending a fair bit of time talking about what we should all be worried about, and that's November 1st. If nothing significant is done between now and November 1st to restore SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, and EBT benefits to all those people living in the inner cities around the country, yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be an incredible amount of rioting in the streets, and I think it's fair to say there'll be a certain amount of martial law enforced, and it is going to get ugly. So let me ask, whose game is this really? When you have the Democrats and Republicans accusing each other of dragging out the government shutdown. I'll tell you that I'm on the side of calling it the Schumer shutdown. It's very obvious that if there was going to be a clean bill, all they had to take out was all that's aid they wanted to give to illegal aliens. And it continues to amaze me, just to bring it up, how the Democrats not so much refuse, you kind of have to push them into a corner to get them to say, well, we really think of aliens, or should we say immigrants and illegal immigrants as being one and the same. Well, that's obviously wrong, but that's what they do for publicity purposes in hopes of gaining support for what they see as these wrongs perpetrated by the Republican Party. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, in my humble opinion. But here we are now, brought to this moment where something is going to have to give. And what if nothing gives? All right, you have two sides, and they're going to take it to the limit. And it's pretty unpleasant to think about the kinds of things that could happen because already you have TikTok videos and others where a lot of the people who become victims of this if they lose their EBT cards, who are ready to riot, and they've said as much. So, uh, I would say those cities is one place you don't want to be after November 1st. Now, it may be that all of this won't hit necessarily on November 1st, but it won't be long thereafter. And it's really peculiar that this would come um, just before some rather important elections, such as in New York City. So, what is that going to look like? You have Zoran Mondani, who's going to probably try to milk this as an example of the Republicans being cruel to people living in the inner city. But you're also going to have people who are pointing out that the Democrats never had to bring it to this point. All they had to do was let go of that one crazy request for helping illegal aliens in this country, stuff that's dragging us down financially. Yep. So, yeah, what's going to come of that? What would I expect here? I have a feeling that this will not be stopped at the last minute. There are you have both sides dug in, and I just it's called stay tuned. We've still got what? Let's see here, 5 days, let's say, until November 1st, and then another four until the election. So call it a week and a half. Yeah. Meantime, other things here. So I'm calling this the unnews news or the pre-news, right? We're going to have a regular broadcast tonight, but from talking with Eric about some plans, I'm going to give this a shot here, and it has to be done consistently. So hopefully people will find that everything I have to say is so interesting. You have to hang on to every word. Yeah, okay. But one of the things that I think had gotten my attention, there was this one piece where Arnold Schwarzenegger was being interviewed by Jake Tapper, and the subject was gerrymandering. So, first of all, I live in New England. Connecticut. If you look at all the New England states, okay, roughly speaking, you've got it's 40% Republican, and we do not have one single Republican representative in the House of Representatives. And I believe, you have Sanders, who's supposedly independent, and then you've got Susan Collins, who's technically a Republican, but no, in the House of Representatives, zip zero none. So they're having the conversation. And of course, Jake Tapper is trying to blame the Republicans. Well, Arnold was having none of that. He pointed out that gerrymandering has been around for a very long time. Pretty much when the ink started to dry in the Constitution, gerrymandering started to show up. And it was interesting he chose Massachusetts as an example of gerrymandering because that's where it all started. So Jake Tapper really didn't have a place to speak because, and also Arnold pointed out that also, for example, New Mexico has no Republican representatives, even though they have a similar number of Republicans in their population. So there's an ongoing battle here. The Democrats are going to continue to blame us, continue to play stupid when the facts, speak otherwise. So then the other thing that kind of got my attention, we're getting more of these threats, right? So now you had the black woman who is a Texas legislator threatening to put a knife to the throat of somebody who would be a Republican. That was one. And then, meantime, in Rotterdam, New York, a Republican woman who was campaigning was threatened by someone at the door of their house when she found out that this person was a Trump supporter. And we've seen other threats like this. So, I don't know if it's just the media picking up on this, but we're just being confronted with a growing list of situations where we're being threatened. And of course, there's what James Carville said as well. So it's almost as if some people are taking a cue from him as well. I'm just going to say it. On behalf of my fellow conservatives, we've been rather tolerant. But what happens when that tolerance ends? I'm treating that as an open question. That's the best I can do right now. And what was this other thing here? Trial begins for 10 accused of sexist cyberbullying of Brigitte Macron. Well, we still don't have a clear answer, even though she supposedly provided evidence. We can't really say she did. That's another problem. Another problem, poor dear. And then, yeah. Okay, so we have the situation in El Salvador. Okay, if you went back in time in El Salvador, say 5 years ago, it was a crime-ridden country. I think one of the highest murder rates in Central America, etc. MK13, or not MK, is that right? MK13 had pretty much free reign until the new president of the country, Bukele, decided to building prisons and imprisoning these guys, and the crime went right down. Meantime, now we look over at the UK, look at all the crime problems they have. So now someone's asking the question, well, how about if the UK built prisons like they're building in El Salvador? Well, there's a radical suggestion for some. I have company. Yes, my little kitty wit. She is Nala. Okay, Nala. So the other thing is there's this great piece in American Thinker by Karen Bessner, and it's titled "When is a War Not a War?" which is, just another look at the way that China has, shall I say, been peacefully waging war on America. Unrestricted warfare, as Steve Bannon would refer to it. And so she's just looking at all the things that have been going on that we can lay at the feet of the Chinese, which have been harmful to this country. And so that's worth looking at. Meantime, the other good news is in Argentina, right? So they managed to, Milei pulled out a big victory in the midterm election. People were worried that he was not going to do it. Now, the question is whether or not that, what was it, 10 or $20 billion bailout that President Trump has given him, it does have some strings attached, of course, may have been the saving grace here as far as the election is concerned. But the fact that they're going to give him some more time to try and turn around the economy in Argentina is, I would say, a good sign. So we should be patient and hopeful there. Now, what is this? Yeah, more than half of the donations for Zohar Mandami are coming from outside of New York City. The quote foreign donations, so to speak. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Anyway, just I want to go back to this thing about um, the shutdown, and there was a note that the air traffic controllers are getting into more and more trouble with their situation. Um, Even IT people now are not showing up, so whatever breaks doesn't get fixed. At some point, airports are going to have to shut down. So it's going to be an ugly situation. And if this goes on for more than a couple of weeks, it's going to be the combination, right? It's if we have these riots in the streets, and meantime there's this continued degradation of services throughout the country. I don't know. It's going to be something that we have probably not seen before and don't quite know how to deal with. I worry. I worry. But all I can say is we all have to be careful. Look around us, look behind us, because you're going to find a lot of people are going to quote take advantage of the situation. Right. Yeah. Anyway, um, just one other thing. Oh, yes, Arctic frost. So there is a growing call. I happen to agree with it. There should be a special prosecutor who reports directly to President Trump, who's going to look into all the wrongdoing that has the weaponized activities that have been going on inside the Department of Justice for the last, what should we say? We'll say 6 years. How does that sound? And yeah, so the big one is Arctic frost, right? So we've learned that uh, I'm not sure if I can say that Biden signed off on it, but there's clearly something that was done here to allow for the wiretapping of the phones of 9 U.S. senators. Now, some people will quibble over the exact definition of wiretapping, but the fact that information was being received and analyzed, I don't know, that sounds about as good as wiretapping to me. The other thing though, is, and I think we got to keep this in mind, that this whole thing with Arctic frost feeds into this principle that's being, let's call it the RICO Act on steroids, the grand conspiracy doctrine. That's going to be the basis for prosecuting everybody who had anything to do with stealing the 2020 election, as well as creating the Russia hoax. So these are, so there's just a sense of a slowly building fire. The pressure's increasing, the heat's increasing, uh, people speaking out and trying to push back is increasing. And I just, does it come to a head somewhere? If so, it's still going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time. And since we're talking, since I did mention the 2020 election, President Trump has made a lot of noise about got to have voter ID in every state, and we've got to get rid of mail-in ballots. And on getting rid of mail-in ballots, I could only agree. Connecticut is a messed up situation as far as that's concerned. We have this no excuse absentee ballot now. They call it an absentee ballot, but if there are no excuses, it's no different from a mail-in ballot. So those are some of the things, but tune in tonight, 7 o'clock. Go to YouTube, uh, where people are on my email list. I'll be putting out the connection, and hopefully you'll tune in. Thanks a lot. Okay.